as part of the Connectathon. And then there's some backup slides at the end. So next slide. So really what we're trying to do is we're trying to make sure, as you know, post-acute care patients are a sizable part of the healthcare system. In Medicare, 45% of the people that live that leave the hospital go to some kind of post-acute care facility, and so it's a very large part of our healthcare system. And so these patients are often have complicated healthcare voyages, and they visit a variety of different places, and oftentimes the information, all the information about that patient today is not available when they arrive at the doorstep of these new facilities. And so as a result, they're not able to get the best care. And so what we're trying to do is try to focus on exchanging data between these various different healthcare settings, so that as patients move, their data moves with them. And that each of these stops in their healthcare journey have all the information they need to provide the best care for the patient. And so we're focusing, there's a lot of aspects to post-acute care, and so we're not focusing on all of that for this Connectathon. We're focusing primarily on functional status and cognitive status. So functional status is the ability for the patient to move around, to get in and out of cars, go to the bathroom, and so forth. Cognitive is, do they get confused easily? Are they able to recall simple memory exercises and so forth? So that's the kind of information that we were trying to transmit. Yeah, so what's driving all of this is the IMPACT Act back in 2014, which was really an effort to try to standardize patient assessment data across the post-acute care facilities. And we're looking, that's what's really kind of driving a lot of this effort. And to really help put that effort into overdrive, CMS created the data element library. That provides a standard way of getting the questions and the appropriate and the possible responses, so that all of the various different post-acute care facilities are collecting the same information, and those are required. They're required by the IMPACT Act to report that to CMS. And so we're putting together. We put together a pseudo-DEL with a FHIR API, and that's going to be the start of our demonstration, just to be able to pull that data to fill out assessment information in these various facilities as we go through our use case, and then populate that as part of the patient record. So when the patient goes around from place to place, that is, they're able to get that information at each of the facilities. So that's really the DEL, or the data element library, is really a foundational point to make this all come together in a standardized way. Next slide. So the purpose of this track is to really, as I mentioned, to really exchange the patient level cognitive and functional status data between several different HIT systems. And we're also incorporating work that another group has been doing around electronic long-term services and support. So particularly around care plans and patient goals data, so that again, each of these facilities know what the care plan is, know what the patient goals are, and can help the patient get to where they need to be in the best way possible. Next slide. So what we're really trying to do is we've created a number of implementation guides, one around functional status and another around cognitive status. And as I mentioned, we've also done a FHIR API for the data element library, which we call the pseudo-DEL. And so what we're trying to really get out of this Connectathon is to make sure that the quality of those implementation guides is to the level where we can really exchange the data reliably and have that be working potentially in a more production level environment. We want to gain experience with testing those implementation guides, and also to help vendors come in and use these implementation guides, because one of the things that it's not just enough to create the implementation guides and create reference implementations. It's always good to get some vendors on board as well. So, and as we go through this, we can identify, potential issues with the implementation guides, how we can make it more helpful for implementers, so that it's easy for them to ramp up, easy for them to implement, and integrate it into their production systems. Next slide. So we've got 3 organizations that are putting these things together. So we've got Alterum, which is working on has historically done the eLTSS reference implementation. So they're very much an active participant to this. MITRE, who's developing the reference implementations for the pseudodel, as well as the PACIO work, both client and server. And then Patient-Centric Solutions, which is also been contributing a lot to this. They're doing a PACIO eLTSS server, which we are going to call the Health Data Manager, as well as provide a patient-centric application so that the patient all along their journey will be able to see what's been going on, and track all of the information about their functional status and cognitive status. So the track leads will be myself, Sima Rivzi, and Sean Mahoney. We're all in MITRE, and there will be other MITRE folks as well. So next slide. Simon, do you want to cover the use case?
Yep. So for our use case, we have multiple scenes. In the first scene, we have our patient, who is Miss Betsy Smith, and she starts off at home receiving home and community-based services. And we have a social worker at the home documenting all of the eLTSS data, including care plans and goals, and this data is pushed to the data hub. In scene 2, we have the patient experiencing a fall at home and then being admitted to the hospital for surgery. After the surgical intervention, the patient is assessed by PT/OT and SLP and is recommended to continue her therapy in a skilled nursing facility. In the hospital, she has cognitive and functional assessments that are completed. They're documented in the hospital EHR and then are pushed to the data hub. In scene 3, the patient is admitted to the SNF, the skilled nursing facility, to continue her PT/OT and SLP therapy. She is in the SNF for 2 weeks. And first, when she's in the SNF retrieves the eLTSS and assessment data from the data manager to inform the patient's care. So functional and cognitive assessment is assessed on admission and discharge and then pushed to the data hub. We move to scene 4. Scene 4 is kind of happening in the background. This is where the DEL comes in. So we have an assessment application that pulls the standardized assessment data from the CMS DEL and presents the forms to the clinician performing these admission and discharge assessments. Scene 5 is when the patient is ready for discharge back home. So she goes back home. It's recommended that she continues her home and community-based services, but also that she receives home health care through a home health care agency. We have a home health agency coordinator reviewing the patient's data from the data manager as part of the triage process. And then finally in scene 6, we have the patient at home, where she and her authorized family can access her data through a patient mobile/web application. This use case diagram kind of shows all of the scenes in a much more digestible way. So at the top, we have the directions that the information is flowing, and we have the system. So you can see we have the case management system, the hospital EHR, the SNF EHR, we have the pseudo-DEL, the home health EHR, and then the patient family access as well. And then at the bottom, we have the 6 scenes that are involved in our complete use case. Next slide. Dave, do you want to go through the system roles?
Yeah, so there's a number of systems that are involved in this. So we have the data element library, or actually the pseudo-DEL, which has the FHIR API on top of the standardized data element assessments. And so that system is going to provide those standardized questions and standardized potential responses to client software so that they can fill out and display that for clinicians so they can fill out the assessment forms. The care coordinator piece is that's where the care plan and the goals are established for the patient. There's an app that can be written. Right now it's not part of the use case, but if someone wants to write that, that would be great. To capture that care plan and goal for the patient and put that into the eLTSS server. There's also a care setting A. That's the hospital in this case. So we are writing a PAC assessment application, which retrieves the information from the DEL, puts up the form, allows cognitive and functional status data to be captured for the patient. That'll get pushed to an EHR system. In our case right now, not an actual EHR, but as a piece of software we're writing to capture the information that is collected by the PAC assessment application, and then pushes that data onward to the data manager using the PACIO functional and cognitive status implementation guides. The health data manager is kind of a central piece to all this. It's collecting information from a variety of different places, the care coordinator as well as the hospital setting, collecting the eLTSS data and the PACIO data. Since this data is sensitive, it also supports authentication and identity management. So in care setting B, that's where in this case we've got the skilled nursing facility. So there's a care coordinator system there that can potentially update the care plan and goals as the patient goes through the skilled nursing facility. It also has an eLTSS PACIO server, which collects the electronic long-term services and support data, the care plan and goals, as well as the PACIO functional and cognitive status, and puts that together and then posts that to the data manager. And so the idea here is the data manager always has the latest, greatest information about the patient. There is a patient family web app that will that will pull the data from the data manager and will present it in a way that a patient or a family member can understand it, so that they can see the latest status on where the patient is as she goes through her journey. Next slide. So this is kind of a view of how the system is put together. So there's a number of different systems, as you can see, with the various different boxes. And we're actually, we also have a care setting C, which is the home health agency again. at the end, which will be able to pull data from the health data manager as well. Next slide. So for the pre-Connectathon timeline, we've been working towards getting the sample data together. We've been trying to get all that stuff in place. The use case has been determined. We're just building all the sample data around that, then building the reference implementations to make those functionally complete and hosted, building the test scripts, and continuing to debug, with the idea that when we get to the Connectathon on the 13th, 15th, most everything is talking to and exchanging data with the other pieces, and we're really just kind of focusing on the fine tuning. And so that's most of the time, most of the work for a Connectathon actually occurs before the Connectathon, and so that is really what we're looking to. We're looking when we get there to be as prepared as possible to make as much progress as possible. Next slide. So for the track schedule, on the first day, because this is a virtual Connectathon and there are people from all over the world that could potentially be joining, not necessarily our track, but certainly we would welcome people from all over the world, but there's 35 different tracks. So some of these tracks are led by people over in Europe, some are led by people in Australia. So to maximize, I think, the ability for a lot of different people to join, they've chosen to start the day at 4 o'clock on Wednesday. That's when the kickoff is. So HL7 will do their kickoff at 4. We're planning to do our track kickoff right after that at 4:30. So it's really a matter of going through introductions, reviewing what the track goals are, track schedule, point people to resources, to sort of get everybody on the same page so that we know what we're trying to accomplish, and we're working to get through that for the next 2 or 3 days. For Thursday, the idea is really to start at 9 a.m. and to try to work through the entire use case, each of the scenes, and see how things are working. And that will help drive the priorities that we need to address the rest of that day, and also potentially on Friday. So any problems that come up, we can focus on those things. Any gaps that we see, we can try to address those on Thursday. We also want to try to test code and monitor the progress as we go on. If we're in, the idea is hopefully we're in pretty good shape by 3 o'clock, and from 3 to 5, we're really trying to do the final adjustments, go through the dry runs again, and really to try to get prepared for the demonstrations. And then on Friday, go through those demonstrations, record them in videos, record them on video so that we can post those on our various websites and be able to socialize that information and show people that, hey, look, we were able to transmit this information, we were able to exchange it, and here's, I think, it can show real benefit for the patient and benefit for the clinicians and the overall workflow. From 2 to 6 o'clock is really going to be tied. There's going to be a lot of report outs. So as I mentioned, there are 35 tracks. HL7 will be collecting reports from each of the tracks as to basically what were your goals, what did you accomplish. Screenshots can be put in there and so forth, or even videos. And so that's kind of what we're looking to do here. So that at the end have tangible evidence of what we accomplished. Next slide. So as part of the Connectathon, there's a variety of ways that we can communicate with each other and also to track issues. So Zulip is the tool that HL7 has chosen for doing chat support. And Zulip Zulip has a number of different streams. We have a post-acute care stream as well for this project. And you can sign up, if you haven't signed up for Zulip, please do so at chat.fire.org. And you can subscribe to any stream that you want. You can certainly subscribe to the post-acute care stream. That's where basically all of the FHIR community exchanges information, and it's a very, very vibrant community. There's people on it all the time, all hours of the day, all around the world. So if you have any questions about FHIR or any questions about anything that's going on with this track or any other track, you can post to that chat, and you will probably get an answer pretty quickly. There's also JIRA. JIRA is the way HL7, all of our implementation guides, the PACIO implementation guides are, and also eLTSS are sponsored by HL7 work groups. So it's very important that we track the issues that come up during these Connectathons so that we can, after the Connectathon's over or even during the Connectathon, be able to review those issues and to try to resolve them. And so if you have not signed up for JIRA, please do so at jira.hl7.org. Next slide. And that's it. We really do hope that you will come and participate at the Connectathon. I think it'll be an exciting time. I think, you know, one of the things that I think is really new and different about this particular track and the work that we're also doing with another track, the care coordination track, is we're bringing up together a whole lot of different implementation guides and reference implementations, and even, you know, and vendor solutions from a large variety of different parts of healthcare, and we're bringing them all together. And it hasn't all been under one umbrella. There's, you know, the folks that have developed the eLTSS stuff, and there's the folks, you know, that done the PACIO stuff. And on the care coordination track, we bring in Gravity, which is doing stuff with social determinants of health, and there's other types of care plans. And so we're bringing all of those things together. And, you know, most of the time, you know, there's been big use cases like this before, but they've all been sort of under sort of an umbrella organization, such as Da Vinci or something like that. And here we're talking about bringing in, you know, a bunch of different efforts from a lot of different people. A lot of different groups. So I think it'll be really a good test of FHIR to see that we can take all these disparate efforts and bring them together to make a cohesive solution that really shows from beginning to end how this could all work, where you got the pseudo-DEL providing the assessments, clinicians filling out the assessments. We've got applications that will be doing that, pushing that to a centralized data manager, bringing in the care plan and the goals for the patient, having the skilled nursing facility and the home health agency be able to pull that information, all the latest information that's happened to that patient, and use it to provide the very best care for that patient, and also have the patient and a family member be able to pull that information all along the journey to see what's going on with the patient. And I think that was going to be a really powerful way to show how all of this data exchange can really help all of these facilities understand the needs of these patients, the clinicians to understand what they need to do to provide the very best care for the patient, and you know, also provide the information to the patient so the patient is informed, engaged, and is able to help make help decisions that's under their behalf. So I think it's going to be a really interesting, and I think it'll be a really cool thing if we can bring all this together and show each of those steps all along the way. And with that, I'll open it up for any questions. Or if anybody else wants to add anything, any comments.
Just a reminder to people that are new, sometimes you have to press the unmute button, which is next to like your little screen that says your name. It's not always in a easy to find place. And if you're having problems unmuting, feel free to type in your questions in the chat box.
Don't be shy. Happy to answer any questions.
Might be a little bit of information overload for all of us, but
yeah, so I mean, it sounds like there's a lot of stuff, I think, and there is a lot of stuff going on in this particular track, but I think also, and that's a good thing. We're building upon what we've done in September when we were demonstrating the data element library, the pseudodel. And then in January, we started to add some of the functional status and cognitive status information to it. But that was really just, client, can another system pull that information from another one? Here we're really expanding it quite a bit to show, how the patient can move from across their journey and the information follows them. And so that's, so it's kind of building on what we've done the past two Connectathons. I think, I think sometimes the lead into the Connectathon it seems more formal than it really is. And this one will be a little different because it's virtual, but this is it's kind of an exciting dynamic environment as we all get together and try to work these things through. And so even though it sounds like there's a lot of preparation, and there is, from particularly from the technical team. Once we get there, it's it's fun to see how these things can fit together and see what issues might pop up.
Dave, this is Ty. Maybe if you haven't touched on it, what do you expect to come next after the Connectathon?
Yes, so the Connectathon is an important piece to a larger the larger strategic goals of this work, and so what we're looking to try to do is when we're creating the functional status and cognitive status implementation guides, we're looking to go into the ballot process with HL7. So HL7 is the standard development organization that helps us publish these implementation guides so they can gain wider adoption. And so there's a balloting process where we submit these implementation guides for ballot. It goes into a 1-month comment period, and people make comments, things they like, things they don't like about these implementation guides. And then we go through a process called ballot reconciliation, where we basically go through each one of the comments, address each one of them individually, agree upon them at the PACIO meetings, and then eventually bring those to our sponsoring work groups at HL7 for approval. And through that, there's an approval process to get them published. So one of the requirements for getting into the ballot is to be able to show that you have gone to at least one Connectathon. And we've made some changes to the implementation guide since the last one that we did at CMS in January. And so we want to test those new changes, and that's going to be very important as the sponsoring work groups evaluate the work that we've done. They'll want to know that that it's gone through some vetting in a Connectathon. So that's the one thing that's really important. The second thing that they require to go into ballot for standard for trial use 1 approval is you need to have 3 different implementations of the work. And so, you know, we had 2 at the CMS Connectathon for this work. We had the work that the reference implementation that MITRE did, and then we had a server and client that Patient-Centric Solutions did. And so we want to build upon that. And so Alterum, that's where Alterum is very important, because they provide the 3rd implementation of the PACIO implementation guide. So that allows us to fulfill that requirement. At the same time, we're going to be doing stuff with the eLTSS implementation guide. So it adds yet another implementation for their guide as well. So so I think, you know, it satisfies, this is a very important Connectathon to try to satisfy the requirements that we need to have in order to lead into the balloting process.
Thanks, Dave. One more set of questions that came to mind is, after these reference implementations, do we have any plans to sort of maybe take the next step and move into a pilot to start the adoption process? How do you see that working?
Yeah, so I think, you know, it's, you know, we've been able to bring some vendors to the table already. And the hope is that once we get further down into the development process, get into the balloting, we've got 2 sponsoring work groups, the patient care work group at HL7, as well as the community-based care and privacy work group. And they have groups of folks that, vendors and so forth, that will be reviewing these implementation guides. And so that will give them vendors exposure to our work. We also have the patient administration work group at HL7 as an interested party, and they can bring yet more folks in. Certainly, all along the way, in the PACIO group, we've got you know, a number of different types of organizations involved there, including not only government agencies, but also you know, EHR vendors. We've got other vendors of other types of software. We've got professional organizations that represent clinicians and physical therapists and so forth. So I think, you know, hopefully by the time we get through all this, there will be a lot of good vetting for what we've done. And hopefully, you know, there'll be good, you know, good consensus on what we've done. And I think if we can show that we're able to solve some really key pain points that people are experiencing in the healthcare community by exchanging functional and cognitive status, and continue to build on that, you know, we're not just finished with those. We're not going to stop at just those 2. We're going to work on other things as well. I think hopefully, you know, the idea is that we'll build momentum, and the demonstration that we're looking to put together for this Connectathon, and hopefully for, you know, to build on for future Connectathons, can help show people that it can happen, and get people excited, and you know, have them want to be a part of it. And you know, just in the last few days, actually, we've had a number of people who have signed up for the PACIO group. So we're continuing to build interest, continuing to expand the group, and hopefully that will lead to pilot opportunities. You know, that's the next real goal. You know, you can get through the balloting and all of that, and you can have reference implementations, but unless you get folks actually adopting it, then the rest of it doesn't matter quite so much. So, you know, that'll be the real focus as we get further along in the balloting process, to get more of those people involved into writing software that can be put into production systems.
Thank you.
And that ties into the work that we're doing, is helping out with other groups in the care coordination track. They're leveraging a lot of the work that we're doing, the use case, they're adding a few more scenes as well, in addition to the 6 that we're doing. And that's going to be incorporating, the Gravity project with the social determinants of health, and some additional care plan activities with the MCDC care plan work that's being done there. And I think, also there's opportunities to get into bi-directional, at least referral support, and things like that. So, so I think that'll be add a lot of capability as we move forward. Maybe not all, we won't have all that for May, but that's something that we can think about for September too, and continue to build on this. So, as the patient moves from one place to another, it would be great if everybody, all of the people in their care plan could be notified that this is happening. And that, and those are all additional things that we can add to this system that we're building. Any other questions? All right, well, thank you very, very much for attending, and we hope to see you at the Connectathon. I think it's going to be a really exciting time, and I think we'll be able to show something that's really very impactful and pretty exciting. So please join us, and I hope to see you all there. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Dave.
Thanks,
Thanks,
Dave.
Matt.
Everybody.
Thank you.